are off. I'm flying through the hallway like a disco moth. Pitching to the couch, then I loop through the fan. My tiny whoop's grooving like a funky jam. Dip through the doorway, spin by the cat, bounce off the toaster, yeah, I meant to do that. Neighbors knocking, saying, what's that sound? It's my brush motor soul train getting down. Flying through the curtain, dancing on breeze, freestyle funk in my living room with ease. Tiny whoop magic, bumping every wall. I'm the James Brown of flight, can't stop it all. I got LED strobes and a shag rug trail. I'm looping through the lava lamp, leaving a tail. My whoop's got rhythm, my stick's got soul. I'm the pilot of the party, on a roll. TV remote's a gate, the lamps a dive. I'm flying like it's 75. No GPS, no rules, no shame. Just a funky little quad in a soul train frame. Below, we fly that flow. Below, grab that gap. No time to nap. No time to nap. Hit that roll. Funk and control. Funk and control. Bounce that wall. Bounce that all. We fly it all. Funk it all. We fly it all. Tiny whoop love, funky and free. We fly indoors, we fly with glee. Whoop it, loop it, groove it, move it, bounce it, flip it, funk it, rip it, fly that soul, don't lose control. Tiny whoop love gonna make you whole. I thread the needle through the vinyl stacks, bounce off the mirror ball, never looking back. My quad's got soul, it's got style, it's got sass. It dips through the incense like a blast from the past. I'm flying figure eights through the lava lamp glow, dodging house plants like a funky pro. My whoop's got rhythm, my stick's got heat. I'm the pilot of the party with the grooviest beat. I loop through the hallway, I dive by the broom. I'm the disco ghost in your living room. I hit that split, that's over grandma's chair. She just claps and says, boy, you got flair. I'm flying freestyle with a velvet touch. My quad so smooth it don't need a clutch. From the shag rug to the ceiling fan, I'm the funky little fly with a master plan. The curtains dancing on the breeze, freestyle funk in my living room with ease. Tiny whoop magic bumping every wall. I'm the James Brown of flight, can't stop at all. Can't stop at all. Can't stop at all.
Greetins. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to the show. Kevin Sumner is the voice of God tonight because it's Monday. Kevin, you
Hello?
there?
Am I here?
There he is.
Here I am. I don't
welcome
have audio,
to-
so
Oh, you don't have audio.
I'll fix it.
Cool. Yeah, Kevin and I did not test this because I was very late. I woke up today with a horrendous headache, which very rarely happens. And then I thought, you know what? Let's, if I can't make a good decision, let's make a really bad decision. And all we had was Tylenol PM. And so I was like, I'll just take that. I'm sure it'll be fun. And so, yeah. I fell right to sleep, and now I feel like an alien on planet Zoltar. So buckle up, buttercups. It's going to be a real shit show. Kevin Sumner is first in the chat. Capital C was next. B-Bird, Matthew Wagner, You Can FPV. Hey, Ryan, Jimmy the Cow, Jeremy Flies FPV. Frank Dr. Nicholas Flycadelic Double Oze Uplift. Jeremy Flies FPV Double Haul Level Up. Andrew Taylor Uke. Jimmy the Cow Mooing as usual. McMucus Spaceman Spiff Dagul. Just on Task El Chingon Doc Holiday. Uriel E Wheezy Whoop Fox Cole FPV. And last but not least, Stream Elements has joined us. Tonight we're gonna see if we can get this little unruly devil figured out. We got this up in the air right at the end of yesterday's live stream, but it's oscillating a little bit. Well, I mean, first of all, the camera's upside down, which I completely forgot about, so I need to deal with that. But the other issue we were having is that it's there's a vibration that's feeding back into the PID loop, and then the PID loop is trying to correct that vibration, but instead it's amplifying that vibration. And so at 0 throttle, it's trying to fly away. So that needs to get fixed. That is the bad. So as I'm talking here, I'm just going to get the camera flipped back right side up because it makes it very difficult to fly when the camera's upside down. It's the damnedest thing. Who would have thunk it? So I'll get that fixed first, and then we'll put a battery on it. We'll do a log. We'll take a look at the log, and we'll see if we can see where the if there's a big vibration that's just like piling up, and we will tune it out. Hopefully, filter tune it out. Using for situations like this, boy, is it nice to have black box. When you've got if you've got a rig that flies perfectly and you're just trying to get the tune dialed in, you don't necessarily need black box. When you have something like this where there's some weird vibration that's feeding into itself, or you're just generally like having problems, that's a scenario where black box becomes absolutely invaluable. Because like what the situation could be is that like maybe this frame has a specific, well, all frames have a resonant frequency. The resonant frequency that this frame has might be right on top of a resonance coming from these propellers or these motors or something else. And they could be feeding into each other and building up and building up and building up. And so in a situation like that, you can drop a notch filter on that exact frequency, a pretty targeted kind of narrow notch filter, and basically tell the PID loop, hey, ignore that resonant frequency. Like the frame is going to sit here and vibrate. Like no matter what, we're going to have vibrations, right? It's just what happens when you have a physical propeller and a physical spinning motor. There's always going to be at least a couple of frequencies that have some vibes in them. The things only really get super out of hand when at that same vibration, well, it's when it's a vibration that's low enough that the mechanical system, the error correction, I should say, the PID loop, tries to fix it. And when it tries to fix it, it basically can't fix it because it's there. It's just a physical thing. It's not going to go away. Prop wash, the PID loop can fix because prop wash will go away. It lasts a minute or two. Not a minute or two. It lasts a second, and then it goes away. But the frame's natural vibration is not going to go away. So we can't have the PID loop trying to fix something that's not going to go away. It actually makes the situation worse. And so, yeah, we got to get that taken care of, which hopefully we can do. Notch filters are kind of an old school approach to that. We might be able to move the dynamic notch parameters around to take care of it, but I don't know. We'll see. I didn't drastically change the dynamic notch and so it's pretty close to like, and so like, you know, when you've got a situation like this, in my experience, the dynamic notch, a lot of times you can't change it enough to hit this. And so, but in fairness, I don't deal with this all that often. I saw Brandon's Baked Beans was in Joshua's chat for a little bit, so maybe he'll swing by here and he can correct some of the insanity that I'm probably saying wrong. I'm pretty new to black box logging and just tuning with black box. So even though I've learned a lot from Brandon over the years that he's helped me on unruly builds that refuse to act right, don't take my word on black box as like the word of God. Look up Mark Spatz, UAV Tech, here on YouTube. Listen to everything that he says. Mark is a tuning god. Brandon is available over on my Discord channel, which is linked on CiottiFPV.com, so you can always go over there and type at Brandon, and it'll autofill the rest of his name, Brandon's Baked Beans. So if you have any really specific questions, Brandon's your guy. I can get you, I don't know, 50-60% of the way there. I can handle a lot of like the obvious stuff, but like the really annoying stuff and like the really technical stuff, I'm just not experienced enough in it. I've over the last 10 years, I've been able to not really use black box at all. But a part of that reason has been because people like Brandon have been amazing in our community and offer to help out. Brandon will custom tune your quad with you at the same time as like telling you what he's doing for $1 a minute, which is extremely inexpensive. So if you've got a rig that the tune just won't clean up, or if you've got like a really expensive rig, right? Like he does a lot of tuning with lifters. So, you know, you've got something that's like $3-4 grand going up in the air, paying $120 for a couple hours of his expertise to get the tune absolutely nailed down. It's a pretty good idea, right? That could pay for itself if the second that the thing doesn't oscillate away and explode or disappear forever. So, yeah, look him up over on my Discord. I think we might have lost Kevin. Kevin said he didn't have audio, and then oh, he's good. There he is. Cool.
I had to bounce out of the call and bounce back in. Audio was routing to something that had nothing connected to it. It was all sorts. I felt like you trying to.
Yeah. So I bumped your level. I maxed your level up here. If you can get a little bit closer to the mic, we will be a little bit better mixed between the two of us.
As I mentioned to you, I'm in a hotel in California right now. And
what are you doing there?
Usual setup. What am I doing there? Well,
I mean, I know, but nobody else knows.
He retired. He retired, and it's a retirement party, and I'm also
there you go.
Headquarters for my job is out here, so visiting headquarters as well, and otherwise just hanging out in a hotel room talking to you.
Living the dream.
It is the dream.
Whatever you can do to get to California, that's the dream. All right, so I've got the camera right side up now. So crisis averted. I didn't think I'd be able to get that done. I didn't think I would be able to do that without taking the whole canopy off, but I was able to just barely sneak it back a little bit. So we'll throw a battery or two through this in a little bit, get a log, and dive in. We're also gonna take the flight footage at the beginning of the live stream. Was hanging out at Patrick's on Saturday, railing around his office garage, and I've got a bunch more flight footage from there, which you guys might get a kick out of. Let me actually just gonna throw that on, just let it kind of play. I had a couple. I was flying good. First bunch of batteries, I was flying decent, and then for whatever reason, I started flying like a donkey. It happens sometimes. But we'll let a couple of these play. Let me actually do that right now. 48, 47, 46. So 47 played at the beginning. So we want to go to 48. Let me let that go. Actually, we're at 49. No, didn't want that. Don't want that. Don't want that. Okay, cool. That's better. All right, so I'm going to let some of this play. Just pull this off the side here. There we go. All right, cool. That's all set. Jimmy the Cow says moo. Jeremy Flies FPV had a shitty fly day. That happens, dude. Happens to every single one of us. E-Weezy says, what's good? Uriel says, we make something of it. Indeed we shall. Uriel also says, you're always telling people to go to another goat, but you know so much, so you can help. Otherwise, help them find out. Hell yeah! I don't know everything, but I've been around long enough to know who to send you guys to if I don't know something. So, and that's that's got as much of like, if no one person is ever gonna know everything, but if you know somebody that knows a lot, that then knows where to send you, that's super valuable. And typically, you only really pick that up after a whole bunch of years of being into something. That's Seneca doing brakes, and I think eventually he swapped the door out on that. Oh God, what's the name of that Infinity SUV? Q something? Q45 maybe? It's the Infinity SUV with the 350Z engine, the VQ35, I guess it would be. CiottiFPV typed at CiottiFPV, comma, and it didn't light up in orange, but I just happened to see it. He says, what's up with that 2.5-inch build? Which 2.5-inch build? Although, wait, I only have one. At the moment, I only have one 2.5-inch build. Put together, at least. I have a couple that are planned, but I only have one put together. It's the Pro Turtle 2.5. I had it on the live. I was showing it off on the live stream, showing some flight footage last week. At the moment, it's a little too light. It's the Baby Turtle Pro frame, which is set up for Analogue, and it's just ultra lightweight. A little bit too lightweight. And so I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I'm tempted to use it as like a test bed for some of these bigger motors, some of these 1103s and 1303s and 1202.5s. But it's hard to, like, it's gonna be too light, and I like, so me using it to test a bunch of different motors, it's just gonna be, okay, this motor makes more power, this motor makes less power, this motor makes more power. I think I need to get the HD version of it built to get the weight up a little bit for a better sort of, basically like any motor that I put on it is going to just be like a rocket ship because it's so light and the props are so big. So if I get the HD one built, which is probably going to be in the Caillou mini frame, that'll load the motors down a little bit more and be like a better sort of representation of what it's going to end up being built. Because what it's certainly looking like is that I'm not going to keep a super lightweight Analogue 2.5-inch rig built just because it's too light for the amount of prop size, and you don't get any real throw. Patrick has gone all the way down the rabbit hole of 3D printing, and this is an itty-bitty little 3D printed box that he was like, you can't fly into it, so I did a front flip into it, and then he put the lid on. But yeah, it's just the coolest looking little... it's like that black and yellow box that you see at Home Depot all the time, but like itty-bitty, and now I'm on top of it. And now this is the most ridiculous crash ever. Instead of doing a front flip, I just thought, like, oh, I'll look straight down and just dive straight down. And I just did the worst possible job of that ever. Uriel says, if start preaching, we go a far way. Learning to learn, it's different. Tell others where the real goat is. Thank you, dude. Sear did it again. He typed at CiottiFPV, comma, and it didn't light up in orange. But I just happened to see it again. He says, I built one on 4S, 1207, 6000s, kind of heavy though, 03, 245 grams, all up, 85 miles an hour, 88% throttle limit. Yeah, I mean, a 2.5-inch frame at 250 grams is actually something that I would be super into. That wouldn't work on any of these 2.5-inch frames that I have here. These are... these are meant to be much lighter weight. The Caillou Mini, the Baby Turtle, well, not the Baby Turtle, the Pro Turtle. These are meant to be basically sub 100 grams. if you loaded them up with giant, well, first of all, the spot for a battery is not big enough for them. Even if it was, the frames are not meant for that. They're not, the carbon's not thick enough. They're not durable enough. They're meant to be really lightweight, which is super fun because these ultra lightweight builds are like incredibly quiet. A 250 gram, 2.5 inch build, the frame's going to need to be strong, and it's going to make quite a bit of noise at, you know, power makes noise, right? And so when you have something that's like 250 grams all up versus these builds, which are like 60 or 70 grams all up, you know, it's going to make double or triple the amount of noise. From like a flight characteristic standpoint, I love that because you get a lot of mass for like off throttle throw. But from a flying it up and down my street in the neighborhood here, or like going to downtown Atlanta and ripping a bunch of buildings, you're getting into something that can break somebody's window or like really hurt somebody or get you in trouble. These ultra lightweight little builds, it's like flying a tiny whoop, you know, like nobody's going to complain. God forbid, like a security guard or a cop shows up, they're just going to laugh and be like, get out of here with that silly little toy, right? It's not going to be like any kind of a thing. And so, yeah, these little guys have it going on. I'm super impressed with them. I think 2 inch is the way to go. I think really like with the 2.5 inch props being so much bigger, it needs 150 grams, 200 grams minimum to really have that same kind of momentum that you can get. But the 2 inch builds seem to work really, really well at 60, 70, 80 grams. But more testing is needed, of course. This is the coolest little line here, running down by my feet and then sideways throw into that gate and then try to drop it down into this cube. I should have fixed the cube. The cube was all like trapezoidy, and it was a much smaller gap, but I was just being stubborn trying to get it. I always love when there's like I mean, as you can see, because I do it over and over again, when there's these like massive gaps, it's just so much fun, man. It's the most rewarding thing ever. It causes a lot of crashes and whatnot, but it's well worth it. By the way, I am flying the Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoop, which is Cockroach 65 V3 frame. Still on these VCI 0702 30,000s. They're pretty durable, man. I beat the living hell out of them here on concrete with like big full throttle throws all the way up to, you know, 15 foot, 20 foot ceiling. HQ 1.2, excuse me, 1.2 by 0.9 by 3 propellers. I didn't have to change a single propeller. 2G4 AIO for the ultimate in invincibility. ORT micro V antenna, which I've got like E6000 down. There's a little slot in the back of the Cockroach 65 V3 frame, and I've got it like E6000 down to that slot. I didn't know how it was going to hold up. It held up beautiful, man. I mean, I just abused it yesterday, and it did not care. This is it getting stuck behind the couch. This took forever to get out of there. This is right around the time that I started flying like absolute hell, for the record. And then Newbie Drone BI camera, actually. A little bit wider angle, but I got used to it pretty quick in a Bri-Brain mount. What's this guy weigh? Miguel with a $20 super chat. Thank you, dude. Super generous. He says, slowly coming back to FPV. Last flew 2023. Question, should I upgrade Air75 with RunCam Nano 3? Any major updates from Betaflight, ELRS, etc., etc.? Pertinent whoops. No interest in outdoor flying for now. No real major updates. This build is 18.1 grams, so not super lightweight, but built to be a basher that's super durable. And the extra weight maybe is helping with these big throws all the way across the garage here, right? More weight means more momentum off throttle, as long as you have enough power to generate that momentum, right? Should I upgrade Air75 with RunCam Nano 3? RunCam Nano 3 by itself is not really an upgrade until you put it into the old school Mobula 6 canopy. then you've got the most durable canopy and lightweight camera kind of setup. It's not lighter weight than a lot of the other camera and canopy setups, but it's certainly more durable. The reason to go to a Runcam Nano 3 is that you want max durability with the old school upside down ball sack Mobula 6 canopy. That is the reason. If it's kind of the only reason, to be honest, because the Nano 3 is not nearly, it doesn't have a great big front lens on it, so you'll never get image quality like this. But it is the lightest weight of the cameras, and so when you pair that with the heaviest of the canopies but the most durable of the canopies, you end up in this middle ground where it weighs about the same as some of the other heavier canopy and lighter canopy, heavier camera and lighter canopy options, but it's just way durable, right? Like the Mob 6 canopy is ridiculous. All that being said, I put a hell of a lot of abuse into this Bri-Brain canopy yesterday, and it held up completely fine. That being said, I have certainly broken my fair share of these Bri-Brain canopies. They're nowhere near as durable as the Mobula 6 canopy, but look, they're 3D printed, right? So like the Bri-Brain canopy with a better looking camera is a totally viable option. And like, yeah, sure, you're gonna break this canopy, but then you just 3D print another one and away you go. If you're out flying somewhere and it breaks on your first battery, that sucks. You could try to like melt it back together and maybe get the rest of the day of flying out. But there is something to be said for having a completely bomb-proof tiny whoop, right? With the Mobula 6 canopy, with the Cockroach 65 V3 frame. That is a hell of a combination. So, yeah. Depends on what you want. On one hand, it is nice to like never have to repair these tiny whoops, but when I do that Runcam Nano 3 with Mobula 6 canopy setup, it's even heavier than it is here, and the camera quality is not as good. It's just there's not as much detail, and so yeah, it's just a different thing, right? If you're flying somewhere that you know, like Castle Crash, right? Castle Crash is somewhere that it's just torture. Like you're just smashing your tiny whoop with a hammer, and so a little bit worse image quality, but the maximum durability setup is maybe the way to go there. But it also kind of depends on, are you willing to make repairs, right? Like if you're going out somewhere, it sucks to repair stuff. If you're just flying at home, who cares? You apply it on your workbench, you know, and you're good to go. And so think about all that. That's the best way to kind of figure out what you want your setup to be. And you know, tiny whoops are fairly inexpensive, so maybe you've got one ultra durable setup, which is your main for when you have no interest in fixing stuff, and then you've got one lightweight setup that, you know, when you're flying at home, or like what you can even do is like the lightweight fragile setup. That's the first thing that you fly. You fly. When it breaks, instead of wasting time fixing it, you just put it away, grab the other one, and do the rest of your flying. And then you fix that initial one. Problem with doing that is that you get used to flying the really lightweight one, and then when you go to fly the heavy one, it flies quite a bit different. But hopefully the lightweight one won't break, right? If you keep fixing it, you'll usually at least get a couple batteries out of it before it explodes. Thank you again for the generous super chat, Miguel. Welcome back, dude. Thanks for coming back to the insane world of FPV. Let's see. Nathan Adams says, I'm building a pair of M2 Maxx frames, one with HD0, one with 04 light, two different 1202.5 motors already, RC and Power 7500s and HDLRC 1100s. How should I pick where they go? The heavier build, you're going to put on the higher kV motors. And so that's going to be the 04 light build. That way, the two builds are going to be as close together as possible, right? More powerful motors to offset the extra weight, less powerful motors for the lighter weight build. And then when you bounce back and forth between them, they'll be as similar as possible. Unless you wanted one of them to be like horrendously overpowered. Like if you wanted the HD0 build to be an absolute rocket ship, and then you wanted the 04 Lite build to be more like a Cinewhoop. Cinewhoops don't have crazy power to weight ratio. So if you wanted them to be drastically different, then yeah, switch those motors up. But if you're gonna fly them back and forth both as like freestyle builds and you want them to be similar, yeah. They are going to be pretty different because HD0 is going to be ultra low latency. 04 is going to be not high latency, but certainly not low latency. So they are going to feel quite a bit different. CiottiFPV says, different frame. The Catalyst Machine Works massive droner. Good lord. Yeah, it's a really heavy frame. No surprises that thing's 250 grams. Capital C says, I tried to get a Maxx M2 frame on Sunday, but I missed the window. I really want to compare it to the Baby Turtle. He will get more in, I'm sure. And I was actually talking to him about potentially getting some of them with the carbon fiber cut so that it runs the length of the arms. He's a little bit worried about doing that because all of the testing that he's done has been with the current carbon layup. But I think I might have convinced him to do like a couple with the carbon fiber going the length of the arms. And so we'll see. Maybe if those of you that are looking for one of those friends, if a few of you message him and say, hey, found out about your frame on CiottiFPV's live stream, any chance of getting one with the carbon fiber strands running the length of the arms? If a few of you are interested, then that tells him that he can recoup the cost of trying it, right? And yeah, maybe that would be a way to get that knocked out. It's interesting. He's had really good luck with that frame from a durability standpoint, and so having the carbon fiber going diagonally up the arms, it makes the arms more bendy, and that if you more slowly dissipate the energy of a crash, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So the frame design or the all up weight of the build, it could just be enough that it's actually not that much of an issue. And like we did talk about, having the carbon going at 45, it helps with that twisting direction. And so, yeah, the frame is fine the way that it is. Could it be better with the carbon at a 45-degree angle? Yep. Will it for sure? No way of telling. There's just too many variables with this stuff. So yeah, as the frame is, it's been really durable. I mean, in fairness, I've only put like 5 or 6 batteries through it. I still need to fly a lot more, but he's only seen 2 of them break, and there are people that fly the living hell out of that frame. So yeah, it might just be a situation where the arms are wide enough for the all-up weight that thing is, right? And so like with the different layup, he might be able to make the arms thinner, but like, who cares? It doesn't need to be any lighter. So like the way that it is totally fine. It's interesting. It's yeah, I absolutely love the motor protection of that frame, and that's a big deal. Saving the motors is I'll take a slightly heavier frame that saves motors over a frame that's a little bit lighter on the ends of the arms that is going to grenade motors all the time, especially once we get into the world of direct soldering these things. Although with that style frame, it's actually not that hard. You don't have to take anything apart, I don't think, to desolder the motors, but it's still not something that I'm going to want to do out in the wild. I don't want to have to break out the soldering iron unless I'm at home. So, yeah. UFSTW says the Air 2 canopy did just knock off the ELRS tower. I guess it's time to put a wire on. Yeah, you'll get better performance without this stupid ceramic antenna. Sear says it was flown in a rural area trying to hit 100 miles an hour plus sub 250 2.5 inch digital build. Nice. That's fun. Denzel the Turtle says, how do you... Oh, I did
He
indeed.
says, Ciotti, I tried to get a Maxx M2 frame on Sunday, but I missed the window. I really want, and my window just scrolled. I really want to compare to the baby turtle.
Cool. Where is that one at? Why am I not?
There's another one from Yukon also.
Here, 2 so far.
Are you on top chat, not live chat?
Yeah, I'm on live chat. Is it the oh, there we go. Put those 1102 there we go. Okay, got it. 1102 22,000 kV motors on the Air 2 build, super fun. I think the 1102 would be perfect. Flying it inside, kind of impressed with what I'm able to do so far. Yeah, the 1102s are really good. Really good. The Gep RC 1002 25s are a little bit better, but man, especially the new BetaFPV 1102 22,000s, they're shockingly good. And then, okay, now we're good. Bruja says, have you ever flown helis? I have not. That's not true. Way back in the day, like probably 15, 20 years ago, I got one of those janky little infrared line of sight helis. And then I got a second one, and then I got a third one, and I got good enough to be able to like fly a whole battery around the living room without crashing. But that was really it. There was nothing much you could do with those things. But you know, technically that's a heli. The third one that I got was actually kind of cool. It was a is the Chinook. I think the Chinook is the big transport heli with the front and rear counter rotating rotors. And that's what the third one was, and it was just hysterical. It was just cool looking. But yeah, that's about it. I put those down after a couple months, and then a bunch of years later is when I dove into FPV. But no, I haven't flown any like proper helis with gyros or anything like that. The first quad that I got was line of sight only though, and I did start to get a little bit good at flying that around the parking lot, not just tail in. But then I got the Baby Hawk that had the camera on board, and that was that. I was completely hooked to being able to see where I'm going. Dan Zill is in the house. He says, how do you know what way the carbon fiber is running? The veneer is not indicative of the weave direction of the layers. Typically the veneer is. Not always. But over the last 10 years, every single time that I've had a broken piece of carbon fiber, and so that's how you can tell. You break the carbon fiber, and then you can tell the directionality of the inner weave. Every single time, other than one single frame, over the last 10 years, and I've broken quite a bit of carbon fiber. I have a big, like, I don't know, gallon or 2 gallon or whatever, Ziploc bag of broken carbon fiber. Every single time, the veneer has been correct. There was one scenario with the Tiny Trainer prototype, actually, where, for whatever reason, the company that laid up the carbon fiber, they laid up that top and bottom veneer layer at a 45-degree angle. So the inner strands, which are the only ones that we care about, they were going north, south, east, west, but then the veneer layer was at a 45. And yeah, it was a Tiny Trainer prototype. And like as soon as I got it, I messaged Evan or Trades, I forget who it was, and I was like, "Hey man, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but whoever cut this didn't cut it right." And they were like, "Yeah, we thought the same thing until we broke one, and it turns out that the veneer layer is just wrong." I was like, "Wow, first time for everything. That's wild." But yeah, that's how you find out: is you break it. When you break it, you can rip off the veneer layer, or you can just kind of look at it and you'll see if the strands are going out at a 45 or if they're going straight. Let me actually, Kevin, do you have anything to add so I can run away for a second and grab a bag?
Yeah.
Of carbon fiber?
So
Perfect.
there are a couple of layups where they'll not just do 0 and 90 degree, they will also do 45 degree. And you can also get some exotic ones that have like, they're almost never used in FPV as far as I'm aware, where they'll do like 30, 60 degree. It depends on, like, it's an engineering decision at the end of the day of what you're going to use where. And so you've got if you know that all of your load stress is going to be in a particular direction, obviously you do your layup all the direction that will combat that. But if you can't know exactly where the load stress is going to come from, then you want a diversity in the weave. And usually, my understanding is 0, 90, and 45 layup is sufficient to cover pretty much everything that we do in FPV. And a lot of times people don't even do the 45, they'll just do 0, 90. And that's good enough. It really matters for arms, especially because that's where you get a whole crap load of torque. Yep. You get a big bag. Hey, where's your kill all carbon bag, Mr. Ciotti?
I know, right? So when they typically they lay up north, south, east, west. When they do north, south, east, west, and the 45s, it's called quasi carbon or quasi isotropic.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
And then Bob Ruge of
FPV
cycle. He had some carbon custom laid up for him for arms. And the custom layup was north-south, 45, north-south, other 45, north-south, 45. And it did work better because it's on an arm, through the length of the arm, the east-west doesn't really do much of anything. And so he really maximized by getting double the amount of north-south, but then also the 45s. And it was better, but it's really expensive because it's a totally custom layup. You're not just paying, typically with carbon fiber, you're paying, oh good, we're through the footage, cool. Typically with carbon fiber, what you're paying for is a pre-laid up sheet that then gets CNC'd out. And so that's the price that we're used to. In order to do that custom layup, you have to pay for all of that, but then you also have to pay for somebody to specifically lay those sheets up the way that you want them to. And so it becomes super expensive, and it's not that much stronger, right? It's only like 25% stronger because with a quasi layup of the arm, you get up, down, left, right. You get up, down, 45, left, right, 45, up, down, 45, left, right, 45, right? And so you're only wasting that left right, so that's only 25%. So to do that north south 45, north south 45, you're only really getting 25% more strength, and you're gonna pay so much more. So here's a broken arm, and that's not the right button. And you can see, hopefully, that you've got strands going in the 45-degree direction. Come on, you rat bastard. I'm sorry. You've got strands going north, south, east, west, I should say. You can just see where it's broken there. That they're either coming straight out or they're going left, right. And then when you look at the weave here, the weave is showing you up, down, left, right. And so that's how you can figure it out. You can figure it out by just breaking a piece of carbon. But yeah, like I said, I've only really seen... Oh, here's an even better one. Jesus, this one was sitting right in front of me. You can very, very clearly see on this one that by how they broke, right? They broke left, right, and then up, down. So that's how you can really see. But yeah, my gut feeling is that the cheaper the carbon fiber layup, the more chance that it's going to be wrong. There's kind of no reason for a carbon fiber manufacturer to not put the veneer layer north, south, east, west if the inner strands are north, south, east, west. So it feels like, the only chance of that happening is if like they're just not paying attention and you're, getting the cheapest possible carbon. Here's one more. Here's a base plate. Actually, no, I think this is a sandwich plate down the bottom. And so you can see the weave on the top there, and then you can see that the inner strands are going right with the weave. So, yeah, there's a couple... Ruge interviewed somebody in the carbon fiber industry many years ago, and they talked about that. They talked about that custom layup, and it's a really cool conversation that they had. But yeah, you can also kind of, the camera won't pick it up, but you can like look at the side of the carbon, and you can kind of tell if you look really closely, like you can see. Maybe not. It's. Yeah, never mind. It's a little too hard to see. All you can really see are like the layers. But yeah, there's no reason to purposefully have it be wrong. Have there been fringe cases where the veneer layer is not the same? Yes. But boy, that's pretty rare. In every case that I've seen other than that one, which is a whole big bag of cases, the veneer layer has been correct. Speaking of carbon fiber, look at this monster. This is the new Quadmula SirenA, or SirenA. I don't know if it's SirenA or SirenA. This is their Basher 3.5-inch frame that they sent me a couple of weeks ago, and I've not had a chance to get out of the package. And in the while that's been happening, they actually released the thing. So yeah, it is so much beefier than the existing Siren frames, but it's also so much heavier. This is a frame for 3.5-inch props. As it sits like this, a little bit of carbon fiber in the back. A little bit of TPU in the back, 2 arm guards, and a big, admittedly big chunk of TPU in the front. This is almost 100 grams for just the frame. So like you add big beefy motors to this and all the electronics, and this is going to be like a 300+ gram 3.5-inch rig. I actually kind of like that. 3.5-inch props are big, and at 250 grams, I hate the way they fly. I really prefer them up at 300+ grams. So for me, I'm going to really dig this, but like this is not something that you can fly in front of your house more than like just to tune it, right? This is not something that you can go downtown and dive big buildings with. Like this'll hurt somebody. But going to a field with this, it's going to be nowhere near as loud as a 5-inch rig, and it's going to give you a lot of similarities to it. So this is a pretty cool setup. But like when you look at it against the existing Siren F3, like it's bigger for sure. Obviously it's bigger because this is for 3-inch props and this is for 3.5. But when you look at it, when you look at like the thickness of the arms, let me see if I can show you this. It's pretty insane, the difference in the beefiness between these two. So yeah, this is going to be a fun build. I think this is going to be my 04 Pro build that I do. I swear to God, the arm carbon is like twice the thickness. It's just wild. It's hard to. If I hang this like, yeah, there we go. Okay. So yeah, there's the arms next to each other. Just big difference. Obviously they're longer. Something they did that I really do like, one of my only complaints about the regular Siren frame is that they use M2 standoffs on the front and the rear to save a little bit of weight. This big boy uses all M3 all the way through. It's heavier because of that, but it doesn't add that much weight. And the M2 hardware is annoying. You have to use different TPU mounts that are smaller, and it's just frustrating. So yeah, it makes the regular Siren seem very light. It is a big chunky boy. They did something really cool though with the TPU up on the front. There's the little chin piece on the bottom, and then it's separate from the massive camera mount. But they connect together, and they look like one big piece almost. Really slick design.
I see 25 degrees written in there. Is it fixed camera, or is there a gauge in there?
Must be fixed. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, it is. There's the 2 holes. They give you these. They give you these awesome. You can kind of see them down here. They're spacers that have inserts in them. So these screws down here, these are cranked down as hard as I can, because inside of that is a spacer that runs through the TPU there. It's a really, really, really cool setup that they've got, so that you don't. I accomplished the same thing with my freestyle builds by getting from Newbie Drone a whole bunch of 3mm thick M3 spacers, and then I just ram those inside of the TPU GoPro session holders, so that I don't have to crank down on the TPU. I can crank down on the aluminum spacer. They did it a little bit slicker than that with these, which is really, really neat. So yeah, and they do the same thing here for the sides of the camera mount. So yeah, fixed 25 degrees, which is kind of perfect in my opinion for like a smaller build like this. You can they probably have print files to print this massive 04 Pro camera mount out in 30 and 35 and 40 or whatnot, maybe even 20, 15. But the one that it comes with is 25, which is great. That's just the right size. It is a split base plate, so you've got more room up front, which is great because the 04 Pro camera is massive. Other than that, yeah, pretty standard sort of frame setup. It's pretty much exactly the same as the old Siren, but that's a good thing. Quadmula does a really good job. Everything is chamfered. The carbon fiber is really high quality. Everything that Quadmula does is really, really, really high quality, and this is no different. They also do those little spacers in the arms here, so that the outer arm screws, you can crank these down real hard. You don't have to just crank them down until the TPU is about to break and then stop. So yeah, the Quadmula frames are really, like, from a quality standpoint, kind of second to none. And this is a great example of it. Boy, is 90, I think it's like 98 point something grams. That's really heavy for a frame, but I could certainly pull a bunch of this carbon fiber off of it to make it lighter weight. But you know, the 04 Pro camera is expensive, and so I'm leaving it. I'm just gonna let it be heavy, and it'll be a big, heavy, momentum-y 3.5-inch build. So I'm excited for that. I gotta figure out what motors to do. I might. I have a funny feeling I'm gonna pull the Grinderino apart because not being able to get the top plate out of view is kind of driving me crazy. And that build has the Xnova 1804s on it, and they'll be great with the 3630 propellers, which I think is that how I have it set up right now? That might be how I have it set up right now. It is. Yeah. That's the exact setup that I have on it now. So I'm probably going to pull this down and swap it over. Although this has 03 in it. That would kind of be a shame. Maybe I'll leave this together. Maybe I'll take one of the ripsqueaks apart and transfer that in, because it would kind of be silly to take this apart and then take the 03 off of this. This is yeah, this is running great. It's just, and I've been thinking about taking this bit of carbon off that's on the front here, so that it stops being in view. So I'll probably end up doing that. But then I'll have to buy another set of 1804s. That's fine though. Or I can swap swap this to a smaller motor, because this shouldn't be as heavy as that. But we'll see. We'll see. Danzilla says, no, we got that. Capital C says, I'd be interested in that frame. I'll contact him. Very cool. Hey, Ryan says, new champion first flight, fresh battery equals flyaway, second flight, strange yaw, and roll while inverted. Any ideas? Drop master to remove flyaway. New champion. Is that Air75 champion? If it's brand new and it's doing that stuff, don't fix it. Contact who you bought it from and say, hey, this thing's broken. Here's what it's doing. When are you going to send me a new one? Don't troubleshoot a bind and fly that comes out of the box broken. I know we all have this weird Stockholm syndrome and we feel like we broke everything, because usually we do. Usually it is our fault. But bind and flies need to bind and fly out of the box. If they don't, you're probably not going to be able to fix it, because they've built a whole bunch of them. They obviously don't all not fly out of the box. And so there's got to be something physically wrong with yours, right? Like, they didn't put a more aggressive tune on just yours, right? So yeah, get in touch with who you bought that from and tell them it's all jacked up and they need to replace it. It is unreasonable to ask someone to troubleshoot a brand new bind and fly, right? And it means that there's something seriously wrong with it. Moton says, I'm building a 65 Pro. Should I use damaged 0702 25,500s, or would 27,500 be better with bi-blades? Personally, I would want the higher KV with bi-blades, but everybody's different. You might not want that much extra power. If you already have the 25,500s, throw them on it. See how it is. If you're trying to figure out which motors you're going to buy, I would always buy the higher KV motors, and then if they're too much, you can motor load them down a little bit. But that's just me. If you're more interested in runtime than power, get the lower KV motors. If you're more interested in power and or just a rig that flies better, get the higher KV ones, and you can always turn them down. Perforator says, I found an old 6-inch glide frame in the parts bin. Might do another spare parts build with some old stock I have laying around. Very cool. 6-inch glide frame. That's pretty rare. He didn't sell many of those 6-inch arms. Uriel says, from living now, I have to jump as grasshopper, end up in empty factory or church with caravan to live in. My best playing place. Nice. Sporny says, you said you have some live broadcast rigs. I think I've never seen one of them. They are, at the moment, there's about to be 3 more, but at the moment, the 2 that are together are these 2 guys. These are the ones that I've done the majority of the work with, but now they're going, these are both on Vistas, but they're going over to 04 Pro, and I got a couple new frames. The month of March is going to be all about the live broadcast fleet. This has this GoPro 10 bones on it. I could never get it to not oscillate with this on here. I never actually ran this. Frank Nicholas wasn't using this bones, and he sent it over for me to screw around with. I didn't do quite enough testing with it to kind of figure it out. But yeah, this is the QAV SirenA, I believe it is, the old school one, the Freybot edition with the cool multicolored standoffs. This is the more durable build. This was always like the build that I would test the RF in. So like before any of the cycle races, I would fly this around again without this. I would fly this into like all the most challenging spots until it would fail safe. And this frame design, like the full box frame with everything kind of boxed in, was super durable. I never broke anything on this. And this fail-safed a bunch. Like this hit the ground quite a few times, but never broke. This is the AOS, the old school AOS SirenA. I never ran it with these TPU things on here. I just had these sitting around and I threw them on one day, just kind of messing around. This would break every single time it would crash. The way that this is designed, like it's like a regular 3-inch frame and then a separate piece for here. And this was very weak. When I was tuning this, like the first battery or the second battery that I ever flew on it, it hit the ground from about 4 feet and it broke the bottom plate. And then I fixed that, replaced that. I had another crash from a little bit higher than that, but no more than like 5 or 6 feet. And on that crash, it actually broke both the top and the bottom plates. Had to replace that. This rig was always a little bit more efficient and a little bit faster than this one, which is mainly because there's no outer spar here. This is also why this frame breaks, is that you don't have a spar here. And so these ducts bend quite a bit because they're only connected here. They're only connected there and there. And so this whole outside part can just create a big long lever, and it's really thin carbon, and this will break. Whereas on this frame, you've got this outer spar here. So when it hits from a crash, the energy pushes in like this, it pushes into that, and then it pushes into these, which is like super, super strong. But having this extra spar here is extra shit in the way of the airflow, right? With this guy, this is all free airflow out here. and so this was noticeably more efficient and faster. And so this is what I would fly at all the live broadcast stuff until it broke. And like I said, that only happened the one time, right at the end of an event. Actually, it was Anniston last year, right at the end of the vet, and I just left it on the ground, plugged this one into the next battery, and away I went. But yeah, these are what I've been using for the past like 3+ years. They did really, really well. Vistas, kind of old school setups, but you know, when I started doing it, that's all that there was. When 03 came out, I was very close. Well, no, I did. I got the Raxus, which is just this exact frame, but with the camera area beefed up a little bit for the bigger 03 camera. And I did a Raxus build on the live stream, and I went outside to fly it. I decided, hey, you know, let's see if 6S will actually get me more efficiency out of this. I went outside to test it, and I flew a 4S battery. It was totally fine. The ESC was rated for 6S. Everything was you know, should have been fine. On the second 6S battery, the ESC caught on fire, and just crisped the rig right up. And in the process of doing that, I noticed how bad that 03 was in low light, and decided to not, because like these cycling events will go into like golden hour and blue hour, and so the longer I can fly, the more they have me, the more they can use my footage. And so I decided to skip 03 when 04 came out and it was good in low light. I was like, yes, now I can switch over to this. I wanted to try to do it last year, but it just, the events were coming up too quick, and I didn't want to try to like change everything all at once. I had at that point like no experience with 04, so I just ran these Vista rigs all year last year. They care a lot less about the quality of the footage when you're parking this thing up on a rider's shoulder at 40 miles an hour. Like, nobody cares if it's a Vista versus it's an 04 when the shot that they're getting is better than any shot that any static corner camera has ever gotten them. I could absolutely continue flying these this year, next year, and none of these guys, like, they yeah. Every once in a while they'll say like, oh, what's with 04? But like, yeah, they're totally happy with the quality that comes out of the Vistas. And the Vistas are really good in low light, arguably better than 04 in low light, but maybe not. I just noticed this has a broken prop. I think that might have happened at that last event. Although I don't know how I would break a prop and not break the frame. That's kind of insane. I don't think the frame's broken. It's not. That's weird. How the hell did I break a propeller and not the frame?
Get a stick or something through the prop frame.
I guess. Oh wait, no.
The frame into the prop.
This is the QAV. That's even weirder. Well, that makes sense why the frame is not broken, because this QAV frame is totally boxed in and super strong. So I guess I can kind of see that. It must have flexed and the propeller hit. But I thought this is the one that I broke. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm not flying these guys for live broadcast anymore because they'll only hold the Vistas. Oh, I know when I broke. Yeah, that's right. I broke the prop on this when I was trying to get this GoPro Bone set up to work, but it kept oscillating away, and then I would have to disarm it and then it would smash into the ground. That's when I broke the prop. It hit against the concrete. Kind of wild though that it managed to break that prop and not the frame. That's insanity. But yeah, and then old school DJI goggles, the old school Pro controller, I guess it's called. I forget what it's called, but the stupid controller with the giant screen on it. It's $1,000. If anybody is interested at any point in a live broadcast setup that works really well, let me know, because I'm gonna keep that stuff for the time being as just a backup. God forbid the 04 stuff doesn't work out, but at some point I might as well sell that whole setup with the smart controller. So yeah, if any of you guys manage to snag a live broadcast gig and you don't want to custom build your whole setup, at some point that old Vista setup will go, and you know, Tulsa Tough and Aniston and UCI, they were perfectly happy. The UCI footage went to HBO. Like it's literally on HBO Demand for the UCI BMX, and that was all filmed in the Vista. Zach is doing by the bell says, would you go 6S with a 300 plus gram 3.5 inch rig? Nope, because it'll just catch on fire. 6S, when you're putting 100 plus amps through it, yes, 6S is a benefit. You're never going to build a 3-inch, 3.5 inch setup that's going to do more than 100 amps. And so 5S maybe would make a little bit of sense, but 4S is totally fine. And it's going to, you know, the higher voltages are harder on certain components in the ESC. And that's why the Raxus caught on fire. It was totally fine on 4S. Uriel says, is it better the 04 Pro and the wide cam? Not necessarily, no. What I need to do, speaking of 04 Pro, what I really need to do is send this out for repair. I think there's somebody in the US that's repairing 04 stuff. This one, right out of the box, the SD card never worked. But by the time I got this into a build and noticed that, it was too late. DJI was already saying no to US repairs, so I just have this sitting here, which is kind of insane. So yeah, I need to get this to someone who repairs it. I'm going to put it more in front of me so that I actually remember. Double Hall says, wrecked an Air75 into hair, and now I have jello. Did turtle mode trick, and even without props on, one motor feels smooth. Grindy, rattly motors have bell play up and down. Slip shaft, could be. But if you wrecked it into hair is not... Is that a typo maybe? Hair? Into hair. I'm going to assume that hair is a typo, and you didn't actually wreck it into hair, because hair wouldn't break anything, because hair is soft. But yeah, spin each motor up individually. There's probably going to be one motor that's more messed up than the rest. Switch that motor out, and you should be fine. Could be two motors, but usually it's just one. Cole FPV says, I have a way better bones mount to print designed for Analogue 30, but all I need is your bolt pattern. I'll put a link in Discord. Very cool. That mount is actually really nice, super low profile. I'm not totally convinced that mount is the problem. It could be. The bones could be wiggling front and back on that mount. But I don't really typically have many situations where I need a rig like that, so it just sits. At some point, I'll pick that back up and get it figured out. I think it's just too much weight up on the nose. I think that mount is too far forward, and it's overloading the front motors, but I didn't put a lot of time into it before I moved on to something else. Sporny says, very interesting. Thank you. You're certainly welcome. YouTube just did the thing. Double Jose says, is that dual colored TPU they use? Looks black and greenish. Nope, just green. Just green. It's just the lights hitting it weird, I think. Penguin says, I'll drop the camera mount I use on my Grinderino with 03 in Discord. No top plate in view. Very cool. I ended up printing one that'll give me no top plate in view, but it hangs the camera way the hell out the front, right? Those are the front standoffs there, and that just seems a little too sketchy for me. This is for 03 though. I won't put 04 on this. I'll put 04 into the Quadmula. And so yeah. Figure something out here. I don't know, maybe I do run this. We'll see. Denzel tells us what frame are you going to use for the 04 live broadcast rigs. The new version of the AOS frames. AOS 30, AOS 35, and I'm going to get that Raxus built back up. I'm going to fix that Raxus. So I'll have the 2.5 inch box frame on 03, and that's what I'll use to test the RF, and because the box frame is super durable. and then the AOS 30 and 35. The 35 will be on biblades, the 30 will be on tri-blades. Yeah, those will be the main rigs that I actually run. Those will have 04 Pros in them. The month of March will be all about those setups because they're going to get built here, they're going to get tested, we're going to black box, all that jazz. So yeah, you guys will be sick of seeing them by the time April runs around. April is when the cycling season starts back up. Madman says, are you coming to the inflated and blow up Whoop House at Sloss this year? I will be at Sloss on the Saturday in April. I'm excited. Fly asking the same thing. You coming to Sloss? I will. Yep, it'll be. I think April 4th would be the Saturday. So yeah, I'll be there on the Saturday. I'll drive up as early as I can get up and then stay as late as I can. eWeezy says, since DJI is gone, what would you recommend for professional work? I have the BetaFPV HD goggles, VTX now, old Fast Shark Analogues box goggles. DJI is not gone yet. Getting DJI drones is very difficult, but getting the 04 system is still totally doable. It's a stock problem, although it is going to get a lot more difficult now that they're going to have to pay 7,000 times as much money for RAM. So yeah, but you can still get 04 stuff. Now is the time. I would get it like right now tonight. Somebody hopefully has it in stock. Capital C says, I thought DJI was repairing 04s again. They weren't for a really long time because they were out of stock. When did you file your claim? I wasn't even able to file my claim. They wouldn't let me put it in on the website. Capital C says they did one for me a month ago. That's pretty awesome. I'm going to open up a tab. I didn't think to look. I just got sad and gave up. But yeah, service request and inquiry page. All right, I'm going to leave this up to remind myself. Thank you, dude. I didn't realize that. All right, cool. I'm caught up. Awesome. All right, so Air75 V2 with a different set of motors. This is not the bind and fly, but I've basically built the bind and fly. Everything about this is the same as the Air75 V2 bind and fly, other than the motors and the camera. It's got a bleed eye camera in it. Oh, and the antenna, ORT micro V antenna, and I did a motor swap. So for all intents and purposes, this is an Air75 V2. I'm going to throw a battery through it real quick, and you're going to see what the issue is. And I'm excited because the camera is now right side up. There's a chance that it won't have the issue that it was having yesterday, but I bet you it does. We'll find out together. The ELRS antenna was not secured all that well, and so there's a chance that's where the weird runaway behavior was coming from, but I doubt it. Let's see. Oh my god, come on. Itchy Sack says, why not the Air75 Pro with 04 Lite? 1S is not enough. Well, I mean, I did that actually. A couple of months ago, I actually did that. And it's okay. It's just not nearly as good as 2S. 2S is just like, you get more power and you get more runtime. And so there's like basically no disadvantage of doing 2S. Everything is better.
In fact, you don't have to run. Oh no, with the 04 Lite, the 04 Lite runs off of the 1S packs. That's right. All of the older stuff ran off 2S packs anyway, so it was a lot easier to fit in a 2S build. But yeah, I agree. 2S builds are so much nicer. In fact, I have a 2S build in front of me that's gonna get work tonight. Nice.
With the you got to have the right AIO to run the 04 Lite off of 1S, which is kind of annoying. There's only 2 AIOs that have 5 amp BECs that are a high enough amp rating. But one of them is the BetaFPV AIO, which is a great choice. So it's totally fine. And also somebody just pointed out in chat that 1.8 is 1.8 inch builds are kind of a pain in the ass because there aren't any great propellers for them. So yeah, that's another problem with the 75 Pro. Why is this thing not bound? What's happening? Hold on. There it goes. All right. So let's see. This is the We Bleed Eye camera. All right. So, wow, it landed right there. So I can hear the problem. There's a propeller hitting on something. It's hitting on the battery lead, isn't it? Let's see. Is that what's going on here? So if you've got a prop hitting against something, it's never going to fly right because that's going to make a whole bunch of vibrations. I didn't hear that last night. Let's see. Hold on. Was it hitting on the battery lead? It was. And it's still oscillating away. All right. So listen really closely. Ready? Hear that? That's oscillation. That is some sort of a vibration, and then the PID loop is going the other direction to try to correct. It's overshooting. It's coming back the other direction. It's coming back the other direction, and that's what you're hearing. And that is a problem. So let's plug this into Betaflight. We're gonna wipe. No, we'll do it real quick. There's a bunch of black box logs already on here, but we'll grab the latest one. I'm gonna put it on the ground. I'm not going to turn black box on yet. I'm going to take it off. You put black box on a switch. You can turn it off and on, right? I'm going to take off with black box off. I'm going to turn it on when it's in the air, and I'm going to try to fly it for as long as I can without hitting something. If I hit something, that black box log is kind of worthless at that point. And so I'm just going to try to get a little bit of a log while it's doing that behavior, and then when we look at it, we can see what the frequency is, and it'll tell us what we need to know. So this is going to be a quick black box log, but this will hopefully troubleshoot this real fast for us. So we're going to take it off. You're going to see the OSD disappear. That's when I've turned black box on. So take it off. Black box is now on. Well, not on, but logging. And now all of a sudden it's fine. It's not fine. See the quartz? You can hear it. Brrr. This is good. We're getting this all on the log. Not hitting anything. All right, now I'm going to turn the log off. All right, so now I can just bring it back. All right. Yeah, okay. So it is very unhappy. But we've got a log. We've got a good log. If you do a log like that and you can only fly it for a couple of seconds, it's kind of tough. That's not enough a lot of times for like the waterfall to have like a full picture. That was really good. I was able to cycle the throttle all the way up and down, cruise it around a little bit. This will be a really, this will be enough of a log that we can figure this out. So let's take a look.
She says Module 7 2S04 Lite ?
Yeah.
I didn't tag you properly.
Yeah, 2S with 04 Lite is the way to go. It's so good. I've got a ton of live streams with those builds, trying different motors, showing lots of flight footage. I feel like that's what we did for about 6 months of 2025. So lots of data on there. So we can see half of the memory is filled up with black box logs. What you're going to see, though, is that there's a bunch of really short logs. So we're going to hit activate. Move this off to the right. We're going to hit activate mass storage mode. That's going to make the that's going to make it show up like a hard drive here. And so it's called BTFLT, which is right here. So here's all of our logs. I don't care about those first three. I care about this fourth one here. So I'm going to click it, and I can see that it's 2.4 megabytes. That's big enough. We're going to go get info because it's locked right now. I don't know why they lock them. Well, I got to pull it off the memory card first. So let's get this out of here. All right, so 004, I'm going to pull that to the desktop here, and then once it's copied, I can unlock it. And then we'll open it up in Black Box Explorer. There it is. It's copied. Get info. Unlock it, and now we're going to name it something. Make sure that you name these files because you're going to end up with a bunch of the logs and they're going to confuse the hell out of you. So we're going to name this Air75 V2. dash 1 because we're going to do multiple logs. So here we go. Mark Spatz, UAV Tech, has an incredible library of YouTube videos around tuning and around how to get Black Box Explorer set up. So I'm just going to drag this log in, and we should pretty quickly be able to see what's happening. So this, one of the greatest things that Mark has is this workspace with overview, RC to PID sum, PID error, all the way down to noise plots. Right now, we're just going to leave it in overview, and we're going to be able to see some of these vibes. So towards the end of the battery, it was doing it really bad. We can see it down the bottom here. It's just going completely apeshit. And so, yeah, all towards the end of the log, this is what we're dealing with. So this is D term. The D term is going crazy, and what we can see is that it's on the pitch axis. So if I zoom in, all right, so this, here it is. This is what we're hearing and seeing, right? And if we look, that's green. And if we look over here, PID error on pitch. So the problem that we're having is on the pitch axis specifically, which is good to know. And then here's the the motors tab. The motors are just going bananas, and it's probably going to be, well, no, it's all 4 motors. They're all going nuts. You can see yellow, blue, red. And so what we could do, there is a way to measure from peak to peak here. That is one way of figuring out what the frequency that it's vibrating is, but we should also just be able to look at the analyzer here probably. So this little button up top here in overlay, this third button is not turned on by default, so we're going to click it, and then it's going to pop up this little window down here. I'll move this over for you. It's going to pop up this window down here, and then we've got this zoom button. Hit that, and so this is the full analyzer. Right now, it's not showing us anything because we don't have the right thing selected here. The workspace that we want to be looking at in here is that the noise. We want to look at the noise plots. And so we're going to pull this up, and the noise plots that are most important are the gyro scaled. This is coming, not the most important, but the first ones that I like to look at are the gyro scaled. This is the raw gyro noise. This is exactly what the gyro is seeing. And so I clicked on roll, and we don't have a lot going on because the problem's on pitch. Watch this. I'm going to click through on pitch, and it should explode. And there it is. That is bad, 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 bad. If we click on... So that is gyro scaled pitch. This is what the gyro is seeing on pitch. This next one here, gyro pitch, this is after our current filtering. And so this should be a little bit cleaner. Let's click it. A little bit cleaner, but it's still a nightmare. This is still a really, really nasty vibration here. It's actually 4 distinct peaks, which is kind of crazy. Look at that. And so it's telling us they're around 133 hertz. What's that button to... Is it shift? So it's shift. When you hold shift, it brings up this little thing that tells you the exact frequency. So we've got 4 peaks, 133 hertz, 140, 148, and 155. So the caveman way of doing this is going to be to, which is what I'm going to do, is going to be to drop a notch filter that's going to go from like, so this big peak is 155. Well, here's another smaller peak here. So let's bring it there. We're going to make a notch filter that spans from 162 down to 126. And so 162, boy, I wish I could do math.
That is a very large range.
That is pretty big. And it's down below 200 hertz, which kind of sucks. So this will be interesting. So you want to try not to put filters down below 200, but we're going to do it and see what happens. 162.
What are those numbers?
162 down to 126. So what's in between them?
36.
136?
No, oh,
Really?
you want the midpoint?
Yeah, what's the middle point? So
it's a 36 spread, so 18 plus 126 is 144.
144, that sounds more right. the core temperature, Cole asking about the core temperature keeps climbing. It's because of this. This is what's causing that. This is when you see this, the motors are speeding up and slowing down, speeding up and slowing down, speeding up and slowing down, and that's what's creating that core temperature to keep going bananas. RPM filtering is on. Let's take a look at one more thing in here. I'm going to go back to gyro scaled. And up here, we can take a look at error versus set. Oh, that's not it. It's frequency versus throttle, rather. This is going to pull up the actual waterfall. And so if the motors were the problem, hold on, let me zoom out here. Let me double click, actually. All right. So if the motors were the problem, what we would see is diagonal lines in the. So this is called the waterfall for anybody that's new. If RPM filtering was off, or if the motors were the problem, we would see these diagonal lines. And we can kind of see one little, I'm going to turn up the intensity here. You can kind of see one little bit of diagonal right here. This is a motor band. You can tell because diagonal is them going up with RPM. But that's not the problem. The problem is here. The problem is this vertical band. And the vertical bands are like a frame resonance or a camera vibrating around, or I guess it could be an antenna vibrating around. In our case, the antennas are mounted in a way that they're not going to be the issue. I'll bet you this is a frame resonance problem. This is the Air75 II frame. It's pretty kind of floppy and weak. I guess it could be this wire. No, it shouldn't be this wire either.
You have a broken mount, broken screw stud.
Could be that. It isn't in this case, but it could be that. Something that is, any the motors and props, they're going to change with the RPM. And so the motors and props are where you're going to see the diagonal. When you've got these vertical bands here, it's something else. It's a screw, like Kevin just said. It's the frame. It's something like that. So let's figure this out. So would you say 144 for our center point?
144 is the center with a range of 36.
So that's how we set filters. We set a middle point, and then we set a low point, and then it's going to sweep to the high. So in our case, we're going to set the middle to 144, and then we're going to set the low to
26.
What did I say? 36?
126.
126. And then it's going to swing up to whatever we said, 164, whatever it was.
162.
162. All right, cool. So we go back into Betaflight. Well, no, hold on. We got to unplug it. It's still hooked up to the computer like a hard drive, so we got to unplug it, plug it back in. That's going to have it not be showing up as a drive. Betaflight's going to take a shit on us. These are two blades, but if they were the problem, it would be showing up as a diagonal line, not the verticals. All right, so we're hooked up. First thing I like to do is just erase the current black box logs in there, just to not confuse yourself.
You suggest out of balance props, those are two blade, right?
Yep. Yeah, so if the props were out of balance or the motors were out of balance, we would see it as a diagonal, not as a vertical. It being a vertical tells us that it's something not. It's basically something that doesn't change RPM, right? The motor bell and the propellers, they change RPM. So as they go up in RPM, their frequency changes, and that's why that shows up as as a diagonal line. The fact that we've got this as a vertical, there's something that's just vibrating all the time. And so let's see how effective a old school notch filter approach is going to be here. What did you say, Kevin? 144 down to 126, was it?
That is correct.
All right. So the middle is at 144. Right? Center frequency, 144. Cutoff frequency, 126. And then it's going to swing the other side of that. The notches are, the filters in general are big peaks. And so that's how we set this gyro notch filter. Let's see how it does. We can also set a D-term notch filter, but we're going to try the gyro notch filter first because we're going to tell it to ignore the gyro vibrating at this frequency. That should be good. Let's disconnect. And all right, let's see how it is. It's probably going to be totally fine now, but maybe not. We'll do another log, and we'll see how much cleaner it is. That was so strong that I don't know if the the dynamic notch is going to move around, and so like there's a chance that we could better tune the dynamic notch to attack that. But man, that was a hell of a peak. I don't know if we'd be able to get it strong enough onto that point, especially because like the dynamic notch is already turned on and it's not getting the job done. So let's see. Battery is at 3.9. That'll be fine. Well, the propeller's hitting the battery lead again, so we got to take care of that real quick. These battery leads are a little bit too long on this, and they're just getting into the duct. All right, there we go. I can already tell it's fine now. Jesus, I almost hit myself in the face! Okay. And we're hooked. Hey. Laziness.
The auto face punch has got to be the most entertaining move in FPV.
Auto face punch? What's that one?
Yeah, face punch, auto stealth, face punch. Nice. When you smack yourself in the face with the quad.
So, problem is gone. Let's do a log anyway, though. All right, we are logging. So we want to sweep the throttle up and down. I hate that we're on low battery, but that's okay. So we did a bunch of full throttle rips there. Now we're just trying to get a little bit of cruising into this log. See if I can get a flip or a roll in here. There we go. There's a roll. There's a flip. A couple of hard yaws. That's always nice to have in there. And the log is off. All right, so now let's take a look. This is not a great rig to fly inside the house. It's really powerful. These are the GetBarC 1002 25,000s. I also don't have a. I don't have the. This would benefit massively from a from Throttle Expo. But this is not a build that I'm gonna. This is not meant to fly inside the house, so I'm not gonna like dial it in for flying inside. That doesn't make much sense. Let's take a look here. All right. Did you say something, Kevin? I heard you.
No, sorry, I'm mumbling to myself. Forgot to mute.
Word. All right, cool. So we're gonna hook up to Betaflight. We're gonna do the thing in the place. Oh, I got the wrong scene on. There we go. All right, so connect. Black box. Activate mass storage mode. It's gonna pop up on the hard drive here, and we're gonna copy our second log off of it.
Betaflight. Right. Jimmy DeCal says you need to upload the custom font back on this quad. So your logo displayed in the top right.
Yeah, it's just all gibberish right now. All right, so there we go. There's the log that we just took. We're gonna do. Well, hold on. Unplug, plug it back in. Tell it to erase. While we're renaming the file. All right, erase. Get info and unlock it, and then name it. Air75 V2-2. Okay. It's erased. Disconnect. Unplug it so it's not sitting there hammering away. All right, so what we can do is just drag and drop this new file in, and it's just gonna update, right? So this is gyro scaled pitch. This is what's coming out of the gyro. Big nasty spikes. The log that we just took with the notch filter, drop it in, and poof, they're gone. And it actually shows you what that notch filter, where that notch filter is, right? It's these three green lines here. These green lines are showing you that actual notch filter. And it says here, gyro notch center 144, cutoff 126. And it shows you them getting bigger, getting bigger, getting bigger, getting bigger, and just absolutely crushing that peak that we just had. We've still got this little guy here, which is like not the greatest thing in the world, but it's, you know, it's way, way, way down here, and it was flying totally fine. You can see here this red line. This is the new max motor noise at 308. This is what the dynamic notch is hitting. The dynamic notch is going after this now. It's not having to go after this. Previously, well, here, I'll show you. The max motor noise was there where we crushed it. And that's what the dynamic notch was going after. It was trying its best, right? We see max motor noise 155. So the dynamic notch was trying to handle this, but it just wasn't strong enough. And so we hammered that with that manual notch filter, and now the dynamic was able to come up here. We might see these crush down a little bit. Let's see. A little bit. Well, actually, we won't see it in the gyro scaled. Let's click on the post filter. So just gyro pitch. Wow, look how quiet that is. This is the flight we just had. Here comes the first one. Let's see the difference. Oh, perfect. I was hoping that's what would happen. All right, so this is a perfect example of what the dynamic notch is doing. On this first log, the dynamic notch, max motor noise 133, the dynamic notch was trying to take care of this big, gigantic thing, but it wasn't strong enough to do that. Once we hit that with a notch filter, the dynamic notch was able to move over to this. And so now watch this. This is post filtering, the first log. Watch this disappear when the dynamic notch hits it. Ready? And gone. So that's such an awesome little example of the dynamic notch no longer had to attack this giant thing here. It was able to move over and crush that extra little lump. And so now, like, we're in really good shape, right? This is super quiet. Let me increase the intensity here. So this is like, if you have something that's really quiet like this, but you still want to see it, you can move this slider up a little bit. But the default, or when you double click that slider, as long as this is pretty low, like this is fine. This is good to go. Let's take a look at roll, actually. Roll wasn't a problem in the first place, but I'm curious what effect that filter may have had. So this is gyro scaled on roll. This is the, let's go back to the first log. This is the first log. Man, it was so bad that you could even see it in the roll a little bit here. It was moving so much. So this is the first log. Now this is the second. So it just cleaned that up. The roll didn't get any better, but the roll's not a problem. This is low enough where it's not really an issue. If we go post filtering, super quiet. Here's the log from just now. Here's the first log, and it should be a little bit noisier. Yep, a little bit noisier. So even on the roll axis, having that gyro notch filter did a lot. Let's move it from a gyro notch filter to a D-term notch filter. I legitimately don't know what that will do, and this is a great way of finding out. Let's see. I mean, like, it's going to apply the filtering as a part of the D-term rather than applying it to the gyro. That's what it's actually going to do. What I don't know is like what it's going to do to the log itself. So we're going to go center 144, cutoff 126, and then we're going to turn this gyro notch filter off. So we've just moved that from a gyro notch filter to a D-term notch filter. And let's see what happens. Here's the dynamic notch down here. We've only got one notch. What I could have done is I could have made this have two notches, and then they would have either attacked that higher frequency and the lower one, but they weren't going to hit that lower one hard enough. The dynamic notch filter is not as nearly as strong as just like a regular old notch filter. So let's see what effect this has. I have absolutely no idea what this will do. I know that this is going to apply the filtering later in the process. I don't know what effect that's actually going to have. Let's find out. Here comes a fresh battery. And This is one of my favorite ways of figuring Betaflight out. It's just to try shit and see how it actually affects it. I forgot to turn things on.
There's a pair of comments. Danzilla didn't tag you, but Danzilla says, didn't TrueRC make a micro V competitor antenna? Anybody recall the name? Can't seem to find it. And Jimmy the Cow said, CiottiFPV has one. I want to say broke the PCB, or
I have two of them.
Broke.
They made them so thin that they vibrate like crazy. You don't want them. I've tried them on a bunch of different builds. They create a vibration like this that you have to then notch filter out. But I mean, they are really light. They're what are they called? They're incredibly light. Tiny Whoop sells them. Well, Tiny Whoop used to sell them. They might not sell them anymore because of all the problems. They are, I can't read that. Whoop V. WHOOP-VEE. But yeah, I've never had luck with them. I think I've tried them on 3, maybe 4 different builds, and they've always been useless. Alright, so black box log on. Feels and sounds fine though. So it's definitely working as a D-term notch. Cruise it around a little bit. Don't hit the thing. Oh my god. This has... The throttle resolution sucks so bad on this because it's got so much power from these GEP-RC motors. Jesus. Great outside, but man, in a small space like this, rough.
Did you put your throttle scale on a knob at some point for this kind of stuff?
It is. Yep. That's a good idea. Although then I wouldn't go to full throttle though. All right, and I had stopped logging. Thank God. Okay, cool. All right, let's see. Let's see what that log looks like. I'm very curious if that's going to be. I think that will have less of an effect. I want to say that the gyro notch filter is going to be sort of stronger, I guess is a word. More effective, but we're gonna find out. All right, and we're gonna connect to Betaflight. We are going to nope. Black box.
Denver says they don't even have the Whoop V on TrueRC site. I guess it's discontinued.
Yeah, they must have realized that there's just something about it that it vibrates too much. They're also very fragile. They would break like incredibly easy. They were just like super thin. And yeah, that must have been a problem. It was certainly a problem for me. All right. BTFL 001. Copy that over. All right. Unplug the Tiny Whoop. Plug it back in. Betaflight. Black box. Erase flash. Yes. Click the log file. Get info. Unlock it. And rename it. Come on. Let me rename you. Air75 V2-3. All right. Disconnect. Unplug it so it's not sitting here powered on. All right, here we go. So we're going to go to pitch. And let's look at gyro scaled first. So this is with the gyro notch filter. And now here comes the D-term notch filter. And it's a little bit noisier. Okay, let's look at post after the filters. So that was just looking at the raw gyro. This is still like fine. These are all still low enough where this, as you saw, it flew totally fine. But I'm curious. This is after the filtering with the D-term notch. Here comes the gyro notch. Look here. Look at that. Yeah. So the D-term notch is not hitting as hard. You can see these, but it's still doing plenty of work here. So I'm going to increase the amplitude a little bit. so that we
Need
can
to move
see
your
this a
window
little. Yeah, thank you. Let me do this. Hold on. Let's get this open. I'm going to pull this up here. And we're going to go new tab, desktop. Okay. So here we go. Wait, where's desktop? There it is. Air75 II. All right, so I forget which one this was, but here is the gyro notch post filtering with the amplified with it amplified. Here comes the D term notch. Let's see this. It should bump up a little bit. Yep. So the D term notch is not hitting as hard, but here the D term notch is going to be less processor intensive. Again, this is with the amplitude turned up. This is totally fine. These peaks are now about the same as this. This is clear. This is clean enough. If I double click this, this is good to go. So I'm going to leave the D term notch on because I don't need it to go. I don't need it to be this quiet. That is like crazy quiet. I'll take less latency, less delay of the D term notch here because it's still super quiet there. And so we're good. This thing is ready to fly. I guess I'll fly the rest of this battery in here, but it just makes too much damn power. But yeah, there we go. We took quick care of that. Let's get out of here. And just for the sake of argument, look here. Where was I cruising around? I was cruising around towards the end here. Yeah, wow. All right, so we're going to go to overview where we had that crazy amount of noise. And we still do have a little bit of noise down here on the motors, but it's a whole hell of a lot better than it was, that's for sure. And there's always going to be a little bit of noise especially if you run like an aggressive PID tune. But yeah, that's not too bad. If I was obsessed with runtime, I could certainly try to smooth this out a little bit, but I'm not. How do we make that? Not playback speed, it's the zoom. So if I change the zoom here, yeah, there it stretches that out. That's at 1000% zoom. Yeah, I mean they're moving around a little bit, but it's not bad. If we hit play, you can literally like see it in real time. So they're just vibrating up and down a little bit. If I get better at tuning, I'll probably figure out how to dive into this and clean this up a little bit more. My guess is going to be that it's from this, and so max motor noise is 300. Let's see if I hold shift. This is a pretty big area here. So this goes from 380 down to 280. So it's basically 100 hertz here. And that's on pitch still, I think. Yeah, there's roll. Wow, roll is really quiet. Go back to pitch real quick. Wait a second. Why is that not? Give me something. There it is. There we go. Huh. Go back to roll. Wow, roll is like super quiet. There is something on the pitch axis that is vibrating around a little bit. I can't necessarily find it. I mean, I'm just gonna keep pushing stuff around. I'm gonna keep like this wire. I'm gonna move this wire to the other side here and see if that maybe fixes it. What I'll be super interested is I'm gonna switch the frame. I'm going to switch this over to a Cockroach 75 light AF frame. Not tonight because it's 11:59. But yeah, we'll move this to not this Air75 V2 frame, and we'll see if that makes it any better. And then we can also move this to the Modulus 7 V4 frame and see how that compares. So now that we've got that, now that it's flyable, basically, and we know what we have to do to make this setup on this frame work, I'll just turn that D term notch off. We'll switch the frame and we'll see how it is in a different frame. We'll see how it is in this Air75 light AF frame, and then we'll do the same thing with the Modula. If I have to, I'll put another notch filter on this frame, and then we'll just compare them. We'll keep doing the D term notches, and we'll be able to compare the frames in an equal scenario, right? But I will bet you that when I put it into this frame, I don't have to do that, because my guess is going to be, since it's a low frequency vibration, I don't think it's any of this stuff. I think that it's the battery. Something that Quad66 figured out when he was comparing the Air75 V2 to the Cockroach V3 frame is that the Air75 V2 frame had a vibration on the pitch axis. And what his guess was is that it's the battery wobbling around, because the Air frames hold the battery here and here, and that's it. The battery floats front and rear. And so that allows the battery to wiggle a little bit like this. The Cockroach frames support the battery front and rear. Ah, come on. Open, you bastard. Oh my god, really? There we go. The Cockroach frames, they hold the battery in the middle the same way, but then they also use little supports here and here. And so when the battery's in here, oh boy, it's a little bit loose though. They've set this up to also use the bigger battery, so I might need to wrap like one wrap of electric tape. But regardless, the battery is supported there and there and in the middle. So the battery might not wobble around as much. And you know what makes that even worse is the fact that this is the new Air frame, Air AIO, with that front mounting point removed. And so we already saw on the 65mm builds, when we run this AIO, we have more vibrations on the pitch axis. There's no front mounting point. And so the AIO is being held only on these 3 rear points, and so it's able to wobble on the pitch axis only. And so maybe like the bigger frame with the battery only being held in the middle and the AIO not having that front support, those 3 things might be feeding into each other and giving us that crazy pitch movement. Using this frame will help us try to look at that, and the Mobula 7 V4 frame will also, because it uses this standoff here, not standoff, this little plastic straps front and back to stabilize the battery a little bit more, to make sure the battery is not doing this on the pitch axis. So interesting stuff. Thank God for black box. Without black box, it would have been impossible for me to figure out the exact point to put that notch filter. We would have had to just guess. We would have had to just drop like a notch filter at 150, see if it gets better. 180, see if it gets better. Like you don't even do that. Like you just give up if you're not using black box. Well, I guess you could sit there and just try a couple different frequencies. It's not hard to plug it in, fly it, pull the log off. But it would have taken way more time, and we would have only been able to get it close, right? We would have been able to get it like somewhere close, and like, hey, now it doesn't fly away anymore. We wouldn't have been able to nail it down and make it as narrow as possible, right? So, yeah, thank God for black box. Let me get caught up on chat, and then I'm going to get some goddamn sleep. I'm exhausted. I'm still all groggy from the Tylenol PM. Jules says, what's your recommendation for tuning if there isn't onboard black box logging available? I have some HD0 AIO tiny whoops, and those boards don't have onboard storage without adding a data logger. Hopefully, you don't have a problem like this. A problem like this is, like I just said, almost impossible to perfectly fix without black box. The process would literally have been put a notch if you had a major problem like this, it would have been try 150 for the middle, and then try like 120 for the lower, and then it'll sweep up to 180. Fly it, see if it's better. Move the middle point to 180. Fly it, see if it's better. Move the middle point to 210. You would literally just be closing your eyes and pointing. You could maybe get they make like audio oscilloscope-ish things on your phone. You could maybe hit record on your phone and then get it to vibrate. And then there's probably an app that'll tell you the audio frequency, and that would probably get you in the ballpark. And then that's what you could use as your center point. They do sell, though, loggers. They do sell external loggers. You solder it up onto an open UART. You give it 5 volts, and then you just like double-sided VHB tape it down to the board. That's the other option. So yeah, without black box, there's not a great option. You can either close your eyes and point, or you can try to do the audio method. But it's tough. This is why these new Tiny Whoop AIOs having black box on board is such a big deal. HESAC says, I get setting the notch filter smooths it out, but how do you determine the problem? You change stuff, right? And so we're going to change this frame, and maybe that problem goes away. We're going to change the AIO, and then that problem maybe goes away. We change the antenna. We change the camera mount. You change stuff, right? This is a physical vibration, right? Like every single quad, like when we build another quad, they don't all do this, right? So this is a unique thing to this setup. So we know that it's not a motor or propeller problem because it's a vertical, right? It's not a diagonal. Sorry, it's not a diagonal. So changing the motors or changing the props isn't going to help. So we just so I actually, that's an answer to your problem, Jules. That's the other thing that you can do is you start changing stuff. You try a different frame. You try a different camera mount. You try a different antenna. You try a different AIO. That's what we kind of used to have to do. And so that's the other way to kind of attack the problem. B. Kirk says, I broke 2 resistors on a BetaFPV Cetus Pro when I tried to cram the board into an Air75 frame. Is there a chance I can find what resistors I broke and solder on new ones? I mean, anything's possible, but woo, boy, that's going to be tough. Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to start. I stay away from surface mount stuff like that. Ian has a hot air station and a microscope, so he might be Mads Tech. He might be who can help you out. He has a Discord channel too, so maybe hop in there and
the ones that small, if if you can look on them and they have they'll have identification numbers, and then you can go and look up those numbers. However, once they get too small, like what most of the stuff on these AIOs is,
right,
they don't put the numbers on them anymore. So you actually have to measure them. So if you have the same board, you can sometimes, assuming that they've routed things sanely, you can sometimes pull the numbers or get the resistance value or the capacitance value, because it may be a surface mount capacitor off of them. With just a normal multimeter, it's fine. But I would expect at this point those AIOs are trash bound.
Yeah, it's tough. The amount of time and effort you're going to spend to fix them, versus just shelling out $60. It's like how many hours are you going to put into it, right?
Right.
I just looked. It's about half and half. About half the chips on this G473 actually have any identifying numbers versus the other half that have nothing on them. Gangrene now says, I hope you have the answer to this. It's driving me crazy. How come I was able to get Betaflight OSD menu to come on screen, and then now today it just blinks a line of asterisks instead? I'm going to guess that you're on a newbie drone AIO. The newbie drone AIOs have a really hard time with the OSD. If you're not on a newbie drone AIO, I don't know. But just keep plugging it in and unplugging it. FPV stuff has a tendency to just miraculously stop working and then start working again for no reason whatsoever. So sleep on it, or just keep plugging it, unplugging it, it might come back. But if it's a newbie drone AIO, yeah, newbie drone's AIO is very glitchy. Same kind of deal, though. Just go to sleep, wake up, and it might start working again. Denzel the Terrible says, wouldn't adding the external logger change the quad's behavior and make the log moot for the unloggered whoop? Yes, this is one of the reasons that I never did that. I never put external loggers on my stuff. I would just change the frame. I would just change the motors. I would change the camera mount. That being said, an issue like this, a logger would have been able to find, because we've got, yes, soldering the logger up adds weight, but this was either the battery wobbling or the AIO wobbling or something like that, and that wouldn't have changed significantly. So like this troubleshoot that we did tonight, if there wasn't a logger on here, I bet you we would have been able to nail it. So yeah, the loggers do have value. They're not the end all be all. If you're trying to fine tune, the logger is going to have a lot harder of a time. An issue like this, where it was super obvious and the damn thing was trying to fly away on its own, the logger is probably going to work totally fine. Having black box on board, using the onboard gyro, not adding weight, not adding a second board that's VHB down, is always going to be a better option. Swarny with the last comment of the live stream says Crom Shop has his first English live stream. Had his first English live stream last week. He repaired some ESCs and one flight controller with trace repair. Oh my god, that is way higher level than what I'm willing to do. Good for him. Go check out Crom Shop. Awesome dude, doing all kinds of cool stuff. Anything else you got to add, Kevin?
Nope.
Word.
Not
Thanks
at
for joining
all.
me.
Yeah, man.
I will. Next week is a giveaway live stream, so we'll hang out with Kevin again in 2 weeks. I'm gonna fly this tomorrow. Let you guys know how it is. Should be really good. These 1002 Get Bar C motors are awesome, and this frame is really lightweight. So should be fun flying this tomorrow. I'll have some flight footage for you on Wednesday. Thanks for bearing with me while I've been half asleep and post headache. I'm gonna go knock out. Be good, friends. Thanks for hanging. Here's a little bit more ripping around Patrick's spot. Love you, bye. I'm not ready. I'm not even close to being ready. Derp 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 derp. Clicking buttons. Wait, no. Here's me flying open prop outside. This is the
CX1103s, Gem fan.
2.5-inch build with our CX1103s blapping around outside front of the house. I don't think I showed this flight footage. Bye-bye!
Yeah. Out in the yard where the grass grows wild, CiottiFPV's goggles locked, grinning like a child. Teddy spaghetti's, fur flies, and jet wash dreams. Yeah. Chasing small whoops like a dog possessed fiend. Eyes on a neon blur, hard in the chase. Bit fuzz and prop spin, all tangled in place. Yeah. Four-legged rebel with a rotor stir tail in the circus of the sky. They never fail. CiottiFPV, Teddy spaghetti, dynamic duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, thing, zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Yeah. Sotty's on sticks, Teddy's on paws. Side by side, legends breaking all the laws. Through the kitchen, over couch scale terrain. Backyard mayhem in their flight domain. No ground too sacred, no loop too tight. Fuzz fuel fury ignites the night. When pilot and pup lock eyes on the prize, every whoop they conquer is a fresh cut surprise. Yeah. Yo, Sotty behind the sticks, Teddy's leading the pack. Prop guard missiles unleashed, never looking back. No leash, no map, just freestyle mic. They on the dog drone streets every day and night. Said whoops, hitting low, gotta nail the dive. Teddy push throttle up, feel the beast come alive. I see the neon arc, got the sticks locked in, Teddy. Yeah, let's rip this loop, ride the roar of the wind, Teddy. Yep. Yeah, CiottiFPV, Teddy spaghetti, BetaFPV.